About 1 minute or so.
Thank you again, operator.
A couple of the high school principals keep getting kicked off WebEx, so hopefully Todd and Sarah can stay on.
Good evening and welcome to the regular school board meeting for Independent School District 833. It is Thursday, June 18th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. and we are holding our meeting via teleconference. 2.0 is roll call.
Melinda Doles.
Here.
Louise Hines.
Here.
Simi Petnaik.
Here.
Sharon Van Leer.
Here.
Katie Schwartz is absent. Tracy Burnett.
Here. 3.0 is the approval of our...
I'm here too.
Sorry, Pat, I missed you. Pat Driscoll.
All right, thank you. Sorry, I should have been paying attention. 3.0, approval of our agenda, and we do have two additional action items. 10.5 is the approval of the resolution rescinding proposed placement of teachers on unrequested leave of absence, and 10.6, which is the approval of wages and benefits for the district office support specialist employees. And with those changes, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Melinda Doles, so moved.
Louise, second.
All right, so moved by Melinda, second by Louise. All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Not that easy. Roll call.
Melinda Doles.
Yes.
Louise Hines.
Yes.
Simi Petnaik.
Yes.
Pat Driscoll.
Yes.
Sharon Van Leer.
Here.
Katie Schwartz is absent. Tracy Burnett.
Yes. 4.0 are district highlights. 4.1 are our graduations, and we will start with Jim Smokrovich from East Ridge High School.
Well, good evening, members of the board and Dr. Jacobus. I'm Jim Smokrovich, the principal at East Ridge High School. The first thing I'd like to mention this evening is just an acknowledgement of all of our 833 students and especially the senior class. I also want to acknowledge the sacrifice that, especially our senior class, that they had to give to maintain the health of themselves and their families, as well as everyone in the district. And we know that the sacrifice caused loss and sadness and happiness at the same time. So we're very, very happy for you and wanted to acknowledge that first. East Ridge had 437 graduates this year. A couple of things that we did, we held a drive-through parade in which our teachers lined our school sidewalks with signs, etc., and the seniors drove through, some of them with friends, some of them with family, signs and balloons, and an opportunity for us to see them for the first time in over a month, I would believe, or almost 2 months. So that was one of the first things we did. We also participated, all schools did, in exchange days, which was another opportunity for us to see them, where they came in and dropped off their materials. And then we gave them their senior box, which included all of their materials for graduation and awards and different things that we needed to get out. We did a grad day picture day. This was a little bit more difficult for us because we were on Friday night. So we had to run 100 students per hour through a picture that we took on campus. We did a natural picture with the school in the background. And we had 3 photographers there, and we wanted to make sure we could get through everybody that showed up. And we did that and maintained the traffic flow, and the kids did great. And we were very appreciative to be able to give them a portrait that they'll receive in their apps account here within the next week before their apps account is shut down. So we will be getting those pictures to them, and we'll be doing that within the next week, as I had said. The virtual ceremony was for us on Friday night at 6 o'clock, or was it 7 o'clock? I can't remember. But the virtual ceremony obviously was not the same, but I thought that what we had done was a class product, and it acknowledged all of our seniors, and we had the opportunity to listen to music from our students and all the different things that we try to embark on each year with graduation. I just want to take an opportunity to say a special thanks to the school board for your support and your decisions that you had to make in a very difficult time. And we very much appreciate your support of us in doing what we can for our senior class this year. And we want to make sure that we recognize you. I want to thank our superintendent and our assistant superintendents for their support. Thank you to my office coordinator, Maureen Koska, who did all the due diligence of all the things we take care of in the spring, but we did it virtually, and that was a difficult task, but she pulled it off just as normal. My assistant principals, thank you to them, and especially Brian Booth, who did coordinate graduation. I want to special thanks to our paraprofessionals. They emptied every student locker into paper bags, so that we had the opportunity to give students their belongings. They packed every senior box. They were there on exchange days. They were, and I'm sure that the other high schools had the same help, but without them, we couldn't have done it. So I just wanted to acknowledge them as well. And then lastly, before I turn it over to who's next, I wanted to thank Jimmy Stucco and his student crew. He not only did the Eastridge graduation ceremony, but he pulled it off for all the high schools. And he is very much appreciated. And I think he created a very quality product for us. Any questions for me?
Any questions? All I know is it was very, very cool. So hopefully, even in the difficult times, I hope they were happy with it because it was very neat. All of them were. So thank you for all your help, or all you did to make that happen.
Thank you so much.
All right, we will move on to Todd Herrer from Park High School.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Jacobus. And again, it's probably going to sound very similar to Mr. Smokrovich, but I want to give a sincere thank you to the school board, as well as district administration, all the superintendents, for their support through a very tumultuous spring, and especially leading up to graduation. And as we've said, it's certainly not what we would have expected or planned for our students. And as a parent of a class of 2020 students from another school, we've lived and experienced this as a family as well. And so it was with a heavy heart that we had to do something different. But I'm grateful that we were able to do a number of elements that I thought were very celebratory of our senior class. We started out similar to Eastridge, where we also had a parade for the entire school, where students were able to come through, and we had our staff that showed up with signs and banners and balloons. But then when it came to commencement, we were able to have our senior processional across the front of the Park High School front entry with balloons. We had a fire truck, and we had a number of staff who were there to give a send-off to our seniors. Our seniors also received pictures, a couple along the way on that processional route. And then during this past week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we provided a more formal and natural background senior portraits, where about half or more of our students came to participate with that to get those formal pictures. And we'll be able to have those uploaded to them next week. They'll have multiple selections. And again, I want to echo what Mr. Smokrovich said about Mr. Stucco. He and his student crew were outstanding. I was thoroughly amazed at the caliber and quality of work that they were able to do and provide for us. And of course, I would like to acknowledge my assistant principals for their work this spring, and especially their assistants and my assistant in pulling off graduation, from packing the senior boxes to making the senior slides. It certainly was a Herculean effort, but it wasn't so bad because we had so many people at the table willing to pitch in to do something special for all of our seniors. And this is something that our seniors will remember forever. And perhaps it will send them off in a very special and unique way. So that's my update here at Park High School. Are there any questions that I could respond to?
All right, thank you as well. Now we will move on to Sarah Sorenson-Wagner in Woodbury High School.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here this evening, school board members and Dr. Jacobus. It was fun to have some shout outs before this meeting officially started, and to the new school board members who we haven't been in front of before in a kind of weird virtual way. So I'm looking at new faces instead of at the podium. It feels kind of surreal, but welcome and nice to present for you new board members as well. So Woodbury High School was very similar to both Park and Eastridge. We did a lot of planning together. I do remember at one point this spring saying, check on your high school principals. We're not okay, because we were busy this spring, and we were sometimes daily or a couple times a day meeting together. And I really just want to echo what Jim said. We appreciate all the school board support and district administrators and the difficult decisions that you had to make, always seeking our input, but then also being able to move forward. And there were some challenging decisions, and I know that you were communicated with frequently, and we just appreciated feeling like we were all in it together. So thank you for that. So some highlights that I kind of jotted down about Woodbury High School. We also had a drive-through parking lot processional to begin our graduation festivities. I had earlier in the spring asked our yearbook advisor to print out a picture of every senior. And I had an 8x11 big stack of, we had 491 graduates of all their pictures, and they sat in my office with me. I was trying to figure out what I could do with them. I thought about taping them to the auditorium seats for the senior awards program, or taping them to all the chairs for our graduation practice in the activity center. But we ended up, I had a bunch of parent volunteers from the senior all-night party came, and they posted all the senior pictures along the building as you drove up to Woodbury High School. So if you've been to Woodbury, you drive right up and you see our big lion logo on the wall, and that entire wall was full of pictures of all of the graduates. And over and over and over, parents have contacted me how cool that was. And I just wanted them to see themselves as something larger than the isolation that they might have felt being at home, and to drive up and see that they were a part of a large, important, magnificent class. So that was one of our highlights of our processional. We had 2 stages erected at the front of our school, and we cranked through 400 of our almost 500 students came through in 3 hours. They were able to get out of their car, walk across a stage, have their name read, have a picture taken with their diploma, take their graduation flower. That's part of our tradition at Woodbury High School. And I want to thank Life Touch for their organization and coordination of taking pictures. And our pictures have already been shared with our students. It only took them 2 days to turn around, and they're in a Google folder. I've already been seeing them posted on Facebook. So I know parents had access to them right away and are already finding them. So we had some pretty neat decorations, and it just was festive and something that we don't necessarily get on an annual basis when we're at Aldrich, and music playing, and we got to see parents and say goodbye to parents, and we don't get to do that at graduation. So some positive elements of it. For graduation, I also want to thank Jimmy Stucco. He came and did our recording of our students' speeches. His team of students, I apologize to them because there was a couple Eastridge jokes that were given in my graduation by students, and they were all Eastridge students who were part of this amazing tech crew. But when we could get them to giggle, then I knew that they were fun, student-appropriate jokes. We had amazing student speeches. I was so proud of our students for their advocacy, for their voice, for their awareness of civil issues going on right now in our country, and just so much always hope for their next step and a fine representation, I think, of Woodbury High School and District 833 in being confident in speaking up and standing up for others. We also had a unique opportunity. We had a guest speech by Amy Klobuchar, and that was awesome and was a special element at our graduation. That was something we don't typically get. And I was also reflecting back, we were able to show our senior slideshow as part of our commencement ceremony, and we never get to do that. We compile a senior slideshow every year, and it's shown at the Senior Awards program, and then it's shown at the Senior All-Night Party. But it was a fun way for all the students to be able to see kind of that picture compilation of pictures taken throughout all 4 years of high school. And then I really want to give a shout out to our orchestra and band also. If you watched our ceremony, you saw our orchestra had compiled a virtual pomp and circumstance. That was amazing. And then at the end, you didn't have video, but the audio after our school song was the band doing the Tahoka Gallop. And that's a traditional song that they play at the end of graduation. And all the graduating band students go back to the band and they dance and they kick, do high kicks. And it's an important part of band tradition for our graduation ceremony. So we really tried to incorporate just what are our special elements and how do we do them virtually. Like Jim and Todd, I want to thank, I'm thinking of the last 3 months, it was really about 10 of us at school, kind of the busy bees that allowed our teachers to work from home and our students and parents to be supported. And that was our admin team and our clerical staff. And working together behind the scenes on all these logistics. So I just wanted to say thank you to them. And again, thank you to you for your support of our high schools and graduation this year.
Thank you very much. All right. Last but not least, Nick Falde and South Washington Alternative High School.
Well, thank you so much for having us tonight. I want to echo a lot of what everyone else said, and then put my own alternative learning spin on it because that's what I do. So, so thank you for having us tonight. As an alternative learning high school, we have a little bit smaller graduating class. We had 25 students who were spoken about and who were part of our ceremony. The biggest thing I want to shout out to our staff members, because with the distance learning in trimester 3, that's kind of the time where kids are having conversations with our staff members about what they're doing next and what their excitement level is about ending their school year. That happened via digital format this year, so the connection wasn't as strong as it's been in the past. And our staff members, I thought, did a really nice job of creating speeches that reflected their connection to the students. I want to thank Dr. Jacobus on his message. I think it resonated with our school. Coming from an alternative background and letting our community know that, I think it's really important. And I think the feedback I got from staff members and community members is it is important to know that. Some of the things that we did, like the 3 boundary high schools, we had a parade the week before where we had a lot of seniors coming through who were close to graduation at that point. We also did a socially distanced picture opportunity for our graduates the day of our graduation. So that morning we were out providing pictures to those students who chose to attend. And then we also did our senior wall handprints socially distanced as well. I also want to thank my administrative assistants, Jackie Greiner and April Engebretson, for all their work leading up to this. There was lots of connections back to Woodbury High School, Eastridge High School, and Park to connect with diplomas, gowns, and they did an awesome job of getting that organized and set up. Finally, I want to highlight Jimmy Stucco and his crew. They made it so clean and crisp in getting our staff videos done and giving us time frames that worked around our schedules as opposed to his. So I can't say enough how professional and organized and excellent work that he did and his team did. I want to thank the school board members, district leadership cabinet, Dr. Jacobus, on your leadership this trimester 3 and moving into graduation. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of frustration, I'm sure, on your end, but also by seniors, why can't we do it a certain way? And I thought it came together really well, and it's something that people can be proud of. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I just want to say, as a new school board member, this is Simi. I have not attended a graduation before, and I know that this was not what anyone would have chosen to do typically, but I will say it was really lovely to see every graduation. I could see every graduate's face. You got an idea of their personality from their senior pictures or whatever pictures they chose to include. And it was really, it was a really wonderful opportunity to just get to know a little bit more about the students in a way that I don't think I would have had the graduations been typical. And totally as a side comment, as a parent, the returning of the stuff and the picking up of stuff for summer was so smooth. I loved it. So that's, I guess, a special shout out to Sarah, since my daughter is a ninth grader was a ninth grader at Woodbury. But it was just how you guys organized everything this spring as a parent was really clean and really helpful. So thank you.
I would say too, I want to thank the principals for coming, because that ceremony, it was countless hours of work. And as Sarah said, in the spring, they were all with different ways people were hoping we might be able to do some things. I thought it was amazingly impressive, but there was a lot of work that came about. As someone who, being an administrator for 29 years, going through high school graduations and having 3 of my own, this virtual one with my own son, as Simi said, I love being able to see the kids give the speeches, see all of their pictures, and hear, even as you know, for us on the stage, the sound goes out, and sometimes it's really hard to hear the speeches. And as always, I was unbelievably impressed with the kids' speech and the faculty's speeches. I hope there's an element, and I don't want to commit people to all this time, that we could also incorporate some type of a video for the speeches in the future too, where we could have our ceremonies where we do the traditional pomp and circumstance, and then we have an ability for kids and parents to see and hear the speeches and see the pictures. It was just, you guys did a phenomenal job, and thank you for all the work. It was great.
All right. Again, thank
This
you.
is Melinda. Oh, I just wanted to say too, like I said to all 4 of you principals beforehand, just a phenomenal job. And shout out to all of you, and shout out to Jimmy and the crew. I know him very well through theater. And I, as a parent of a senior, I was just so impressed. I was so sad that we weren't going to have a regular traditional commencement, but you all did such a great job. And like I told my son is, you know, this is the only class, you guys are going to have a video now of your commencement that you're going to have for the rest of your life and be able to show your kids. You know, other classes don't have that experience. So I think you all did a great job. So thank you.
So thank you very much. All right. Have a wonderful weekend if you're not going to stay with us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Have a good night. 4.2, thank you, and an unfortunate farewell to two of our own. I will hand it over to Dr. Jacobus.
Yep, unfortunately, we're going to say goodbye to two of our good friends and colleagues tonight and take a minute to thank them for all the work that they have done to help us move forward and wish them well in their next endeavor. First, Mike Johnson, our assistant superintendent, one of our assistant superintendents. As people know, Mike is going to move into the superintendency of the Eau Claire public school system, and we're really excited for him. I have a few comments that cabinet members made about Mike, but I'd like to say from the superintendent position, he was a phenomenal colleague. And from the very first time I met Mike, you could see his caring and his heart and his passion. And he was always willing to step in and help in any way. He has a wonderful sense of humor, a great way to think about things. He's very calm and methodical. And as he works through issues, he created a very positive environment in our system with the principals and the people that he worked with. And he is going to be hard to replace. The way that Julie Nielsen and Christine Schaefer and Mike worked together, the three of them, it was seamless. And I think it got to be, they could tell what each other was going to say. That is really positive in a system our size when you have so many things going on that everyone's on the same page. But everyone that came in contact with Mike just loved working with them. And I really can't say enough about the quality of his work, the high quality of his work, and how much I'll miss him. But I did enjoy his sense of humor because there was always a way that we might tease him a little bit, and it was always funny to catch him in something. He was so good-natured about it, and good luck to you, Mike. And so I have a few comments that people had said. Dana wrote, "Congratulations on your new position in Eau Claire. Your calm demeanor and sense of humor will be greatly missed." Kelly wrote, "Going back to even when I interviewed for my position, Mike has been one of the most empathetic listeners I have ever met. He has a way of always making you feel like you are the most important person to him whenever you talk with him, even though I know how much he always has on his plate." Julie said, "I will miss the random tunes being whistled by Mike throughout the day. He could be heard throughout the DSC whistling when he entered work and whistling when he left." From Dan, "Mike and I started at South Washington County Schools just weeks apart 6 years ago. I don't believe there is a kinder school leader or person around. He always has a friendly word to say and always makes you feel welcome in his presence, even though he's about 9 feet tall. He holds his people accountable to adhere to ethical and high standards of behavior. We all know he is a leader and has proven again with the big step he is taking at his new district. I will miss Mike and the easy way it is to talk to him about any issue." And Corey wrote, "Michael has a caring heart and he is always welcoming. He always wants to do right by others." And so, Mike, I would tell you, you leave an outstanding legacy in our district. We're in a better place because of your time with us, and Eau Claire is so lucky to have you. And I'd give you a chance if you just want to say a word or two before we forget you.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Keith, and fellow cabinet members for all those kind words. I'll be real brief, but board members, I know I haven't worked with the 3 new board members as much, and Pat a little bit longer, but to Sharon, Katie, and Tracy, I've really appreciated your support and your leadership throughout the past 6 years with the difficult job you have, but you do it with grace. And thank you so much. There's just so much great about 833, the support staff. You know, when they take my blood pressure every once in a while when I go to schools, the DSC departments, tremendous at the DSC and DPC. We had a little parade today and transportation brought a bus over for us. The teachers, you know, that's where the magic's made in the classroom. I'll miss getting to all the schools. Our principals, APs, and system leaders, outstanding. I wish we met more than monthly, just because of how much they have to offer. Our fellow cabinet members, Dan, I really appreciate your words. It's hard to believe it's been 6 years and it's gone by so quickly, but I think all of you have shared that through the equity work and COVID throughout the past 3 months, you've just been amazing. It's just incredible. And obviously Christine and Keith and Julie, I see you guys every day, and especially Keith and Julie for the last 6 years, but Christine, the last 2 so very closely. It's just been an honor and a pleasure. I've enjoyed every minute, and it's great to be on your team. I'll miss you guys deeply, but ultimately it's about the students, and that's how it is for all of us. These 833 students, the 19,000 over, they're just amazing. That's what made my day when I can get into those classrooms. I'll miss them deeply, and it was an absolute honor to serve those students and families in 833. And I will not say goodbye. I will say until a later time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. And a little virtual clapping. All right. And then we're also saying goodbye to Michelle Barris. Michelle has been our Director of Special Education for the last 4 years, I think. And before that, she was in the department. Michelle did grow up in our district and graduated from Park, and then moved out to California. She established herself there as an outstanding administrator. We were so lucky to have her come back to Minnesota. And her role as a director of special education is a really difficult role. There are so many needs, and as we've talked about many times about the cross-subsidy, there's never the funding that we need to be able to service our kids the way we want. So Michelle is always in a difficult position of making tough decisions. She also is in a difficult decision in trying to support our parents and kids and teachers, and in ways that sometimes she's in the middle of very emotional conversations. What I admired about Michelle is she was wonderful at listening to people and being in these types of emotional conversations, and being able to find that area to finish the meeting and move forward, where everyone felt like there was a positive end and a way to get to the best for the student that we were talking about. She's an amazing system thinker and really creative. And every time we would meet at a regular meeting, she had already put together a plan about what's the next step that we could take to better meet the needs of kids, to support our teachers and our parents. And her thinking, again, has moved us just so far forward in special education. And it's really wonderful for Michelle. She is going back to California, and will have an outstanding career there. When the reference call, when they called and I knew what they were calling about, I was able to just say, you're really breaking my heart here. And so, Michelle, I want to thank you for your work. I know it was tough, and you also left an unbelievable legacy, and it's going to be hard to fill your shoes. And I have a few comments that people have made as well. So Dana said, your intelligence, humor, and friendship will be missed. Good luck to you and your family. Kelly wrote, it has been so awesome working with Michelle and her vision for students. She is always so flexible and willing to be part of the team, and she continues to advocate for students, Julie wrote, her lists and attention to detail are so comprehensive. Under her leadership, special education staff have been provided with professional development to support specialized programs in our schools. And Dan wrote, when Michelle began as our Director of Special Services, it became apparent that she is a quick study. She worked hard to understand the complicated world of special education finance and always shows great respect to the finance staff, mainly first Sarah and then Manuela. She has always worked hard to fill the needs of students while always having to battle financial and systematic restraints. Her intellect and comprehensive skills make her a standout as a school leader, and she will rise to the top of wherever she ends up. And Corey said Michelle is a champion for students. She wants the best for each student. So thank you, Michelle, and I'd like to give you a chance to say a few words.
Thanks, Keith. I feel like you're at the Emmys or whatever, and you have the long list of people, that you want to thank. And I really feel like that because, as I've said time and time again, as I'm talking to people, it's not me. The work or the comments that you're hearing is not me. It's really not only the amazing special ed leadership team and family that I get to work with every day, but it's also cabinet members. I feel like we have the right people in the right places with the right skills and talents, and cabinet has been so inclusive of not only me but special education and really hearing how sometimes what happens in general ed affects special ed and really putting special education students first sometimes in their thinking. And so I'm so appreciative of that. To the board members, for the confidence in me. Again, some of the newer board members, I haven't had a chance to work with you, but just having the confidence when I came on board and then ongoing as a director. I've had some really great experiences with you, some conversations, as well as some really tough decisions. Also, Keith, I appreciate your confidence and really listening and being supportive, whether it's just offering an ear or an idea and really believing in me. And I can tell you as an administrator and director, that means that all the difference in the world, and it allows our team and us to do what we need to do. And then again, to all the principals and everybody out there, and it's really hard because it takes a while to build trust and relationships and to have that family feeling. And we don't always agree, but at least I feel this is a place that truly believes we do what's right for kids, for all kids. And that's truly unique. And knowing that everybody in the system feels that way and they believe that. And sometimes we can't always get as close as we want, but we're definitely making progress. And especially through everything that has happened, it's been an emotional 3 months between I have a senior daughter whose dance career didn't end the way I wanted it to, or didn't end the way I thought it was going to graduation, to COVID, to living apart from families, and then, leaving a place that I feel really comfortable with now. So, I appreciate the experience. I appreciate all the things that I've learned along the way, and I'm definitely going to miss everybody, and I'm definitely going to be calling on people for sure. So thank you from everybody. So appreciative. And like Mike said, it's till we meet again.
Well, and just thank you both for your leadership, your advocacy for our kids, and most of all for just being great people. I have enjoyed working with you. And we just wish you all the best of luck. We'll miss you, but I know you'll do fantastic at your new, I know you're going to Eau Claire, and wherever Michelle is going, they are very lucky to have you. So thank you. All right. 5.0 is public comment, and as always, the board is not going to discuss comments. We may give the superintendent or ask the superintendent to prepare a response. So we have 5 this evening, so I'll read those. The first is Max K. The decision to eliminate GPA calculations from students' grades appears to have an adverse impact on South Washington County students who otherwise benefit from the merits of their academic achievements. I'm surprised at the reversal where the district would allow for student choice based on their current continuing academic excellence, or to capture those students who excelled in their grades during the online trimester, retain the choice to opt out if the off-campus environment had an adverse impact. In other words, the current position does not seem fair or equitable. Now all students are barred from the benefit of their achievements, and others are left without the choice to accommodate an historic disruption in their lives. I realize the board has already made its decision. I'm asking for any further clarification on its decision or to consider restoring its original and more applicable grading policy. All right. So the next is from Kathy Budson. Please read, okay. 162 people wrote into the last meeting on this topic. 94.4% of them disagreed with the grading change. Only 3 letters were read since the superintendent has now chosen to give pandemic cumulative GPA to approximately 10% of our 833 juniors and seniors and not to all others. This topic is still very much alive and fair game. First, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Jacobus for getting it right. First time on April 8th. He essentially created an excellent choice policy which protected the pride and motivation for students to maintain good grades, maintain their ability to earn cumulative GPA, which no matter what the superintendent thinks and acknowledged on April 8th, will be a valuable tool for college admission and scholarships. Also, for many students, this cumulative GPA was necessary to earn an academic letter, graduation stole, and was their driving force as they chose to carry on and make the best of a terrible situation. The April 8th plan also allowed for a pass no credit option, exactly what the MDE was looking for and what all our bordering districts gave their students. On May 18, a full 40 days after making a promise to students, teachers, and families, the superintendent broke the promise. Taking away cumulative GPA was never openly discussed in the meeting with the board, but mandated by the superintendent. Could you even imagine how the superintendent would react? The school board decided on May 18 that they would not pay him for this trimester because it was different, but just allow him the simple pleasure of learning during this time. That sounds ridiculous, I know, but this is essentially what happened to the kids. There are also 620 credit for learning policies adopted on 3/7/19 that have been severely bent. We have more detailed 620 policies than most districts. For time's sake, I'll only cover one. The superintendent and school board need to be held accountable to these. For example, weighted grade policy, which guarantees students' rights to weighted grades as defined in the policy as a letter or numerical grade that is assigned a numerical advantage 1.2 multiplier when calculating the grade point average. The advantage that is protected is the cumulative GPA. All our 620 policies are about what is on the transcript, which is the official 833 document. That is on the report card. Report cards only report grades. Look, no credits in parentheses. Transcripts report credits, thus the Title 620 credit for learning policies. The board needs to protect the integrity of their policies. You all know these weighted grades were intended to go on the transcript for this policy. This is just one example of bent policies, but you can also reference the online learning policy and transfer policy. I 100% think PSEO students should get their earned cumulative GPA, just like all students should have the right to their earned cumulative GPA. PSEO students spent 25% of their academic year in distance learning and are getting a full year of cumulative GPA, and 833 students spent 33% and are getting 66 cumulative GPA for the year. I do not get the math or the logic. Everyone that wants it should be afforded 100%. Just because you place it on the transcript in term 2 does not change the fact it is pandemic GPA. Please tell me it is not because you think PSEO students are better or that their instructors were better equipped to teach in a distant learning format than our own hardworking and talented 833 staff. Of course not. You have praised their hard work. Lastly, I need to clear up the false and troubling assumption regarding equity made at the May 7 meeting. The superintendent openly admitted to only having anecdotal data when making his decision, and then an assumption was presented about the data below. Please go back and watch the May 7 board meeting from 2:29:45 to 2:36. Some shocking things said in those 6.5 minutes. The data the district compiled on May 11, comparing different demographic groups, try 1 and try 2 versus try 3, tells a different tale. Per the district's own data as of May 11, and I was told yesterday there is no other data on this per my Freedom of Information request. White students were most negatively impacted by distant learning at that point in time, and district demographic groups such as free and reduced meal price students, Black or African American students, special ed students, and Hispanic students were doing better than their past 2 trimesters and historical yearly averages regarding the percentage of failing grades. Some of these students and parents submitted public comment to the board expressing their desire for their earned cumulative GPA as they were excelling in distance learning. Regardless, families can speak best to what is equitable for their child in times like these and why the MDE recommended choice in grading. Or do the right thing here. This has gone on too long. Protect the rights of students you committed to serve and not just the superintendent's decision. In his May 18 decision, the superintendent stated, "Though I do not believe that grades are appropriate for distance learning, it is the nature of our education system. It would have been more honest if you said that on April 8 instead of listing all the reasons why we would have standard grading with the pass no credit option. Please give everyone the choice for cumulative GPA, not just the 10% of juniors and seniors that made the choice to leave 833 for their learning. This message had dangerous implications for our future. All the board members that openly called out for equity and or choice, here's your chance to do it right so we can move forward with some trust and confidence. This will not go away and has put the district in a vulnerable position. Thank you for reading this aloud and your service to the board. It takes a lot of guts to put your name on a ballot, and it also takes a lot of guts to say we made a mistake. Choice equals equity in this case." Emily Rude. Hi, could you please address the board's plan to address police brutality in regard to police-school relationships? The MPD had very progressive de-escalation and bias training, but George Floyd was still killed. What are you doing to ensure that students of color feel safe? Could resource officers' jobs be done unarmed or by equally qualified social workers? Could the resources being invested in resource officers be invested in programs that address the root problems behind racism and inequality? Thank you. Paige Burmeister. Dear School Board, my name is Paige Burmeister. I'm a junior at Park High School. I am writing to you in regard to your decision to not include trimester 3 grades into all of the students of District 833's overall GPA. I, along with many of my peers, are very disappointed with this decision. Many students have worked tirelessly for many hours a day while already anxious about the state of the world to make sure school was still a priority. It seems like all of our hard work was for nothing. This decision you made is also crucial to juniors and seniors. We don't have many more chances to better our GPA, and without this trimester counting, it is going to directly affect our futures. If our grades aren't accounted for, it is going to hurt a lot of students' futures and chances at getting into college. I can speak to this personally. I have worked hard to get all A's during distance learning and hopes of raising my GPA to get into my dream college, New York Film School. I would be absolutely crushed if my work didn't count. I ask that you reconsider having our grades counted, or at least give the students a choice whether or not they want their grades to count toward their GPA, like the districts around us are allowed. Thank you, and I really hope you make the right decision for the students and community as a whole. I have been let down by this district many times, and I hope that won't happen again. Natalie Hua. I would like the grades for this trimester to be included in our GPA. The petition on change.org has reached nearly 5,000 signatures. Please reconsider this decision. I believe it would be more optimal for students if pass-fail was optional rather than forced on all students. I feel as though my work for this trimester is not appreciated with it not being included in my GPA. And Nick H. Why did you change it? Why can't we have the option to be added to our GPA? Our rival schools are. What is your information behind changing it? It is not MDE because those guidelines are included in the previous grading scale. So thank you all for sending in your comments this evening. 6.0 are consent items. All consent items are considered routine and non-controversial by the school board and will be approved by a single motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items prior to the meeting. Board members did have the opportunity to review each item and could have requested that one be moved to an action item for individual consideration. Since that did not happen this evening, I will entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda.
Pat Driscoll, so move.
Louise, second.
All right, so moved by Pat, second by Louise. Roll call vote.
Melinda Doles,
Yes.
Louise Hines,
Yes.
Simi Petniak,
Yes.
Pat Driscoll,
Yes.
Sharon Van Leer,
Here.
Katie Schwartz is absent, Tracy Burnett.
Yes. All right, thank you. Motion passes. 7.0 are workshop items. They will be on our agenda for August 13th. 8.0 are information items. 8.1 is our Teacher Academy update, and this will be presented by our Director of Teaching and Learning, Kelly Jansen.
All right. Good evening, Board Chair Burnett, board members, and Dr. Jacobus. Thanks for having us here. Last year, during some TLS department restructuring, you've heard a little bit about it, we were fortunate to bring on board James McGee as our professional development coordinator. James has been employed with the district for 11 years. He's also an alum, if you didn't know that. He served in many different roles, AmeriCorps, paraprofessional, teacher, and student achievement specialist before we were able to bring him on board with TLS. Since coming on board, James has truly reimagined many of the ways we have done staff development. And because I'm here and get to introduce him, I want to publicly thank him and add that James was instrumental during the days leading up to distance learning in organizing and leading professional development to prepare our teachers for what was to come, even though we had no idea what was to come. He really is one of the most servant leaders I've ever had the honor of working with. So I don't know how we would have done distance learning without James. So thank you so much, James, for everything. In addition to that, James, as I mentioned, brings fresh perspective. We have a lot of great department meetings where we talk about generational perspective. So he really has rebuilt what was known as New Teacher Academy. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to James to give a quick update on the events that are going to take place, how we're involving more teachers, and then highlight some of the summer learning opportunities. So go ahead, James.
All right. Well, good evening, Board Chair Burnett, board members, and Dr. Jacobus. Kelly, thanks for the kind words. You know, this is my first year doing this, so I guess I won't know any better if it's supposed to be easier than what we just did. I wasn't sure the best order to talk about each of these things in. So if you have questions as we go through, Kelly's going to moderate the chat for me because I'm kind of flying blind because I've got the slideshow up. So if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, at the end, I'll be willing to listen to and try to answer any questions that you have. So I want to start with new teacher orientation. To improve our employee experience, specifically for new teachers, teaching and learning services and human resources are collaborating and combining those two separate experiences and turning them into one thing. So it was HR orientation, and then teachers would go to new teacher breakfast, which typically happened on the first day of probationary or new teacher academy. So we're going to combine those into one event on Monday, August 10th. Part of the reimagining, I'm working with Kevin Witherspoon and Abby Baker, our new Assistant Director of Human Resources, and Andrea Helgeson in Human Resources. We recognize that part of the power of teachers is our collective efficacy and realizing and recognizing how powerful we are when we believe that we have power to change students' lives. And so we want to introduce and bring our new teachers into an exciting, enthusiastic environment, not to mention by combining them into one event, we're hoping to be a little more efficient and streamline the process of onboarding our new teachers. So as I was saying, the first day of Probationary Academy was our new teacher breakfast. What we're doing this year, we've kind of rebranded our Probationary Academy to be Sawashko Academy, and that's for a couple of reasons. Right now, there's a renewed sense of urgency regarding culturally responsive teaching. and anti-racist practices in Swashco. I was really happy to hear the public comment regarding and asking what are we as a district going to do to address this. And to be honest with you, it's the reason that I got into education in the first place. So I'm really saddened by what's going on, but excited at the opportunity to be able to address it from a professional development standpoint. So teaching and learning will be working very closely with Corey Thompson and Achievement and Integration to ensure that our professional development for this upcoming year will be highly effective and easily accessible. And this includes what's going to happen at Swashco Academy. That will be a primary focus of what we cover during our Swashco Academy. We've expanded it from 3 days to 4 days to allow our probationary teachers more options and more resources to jump into the school year. But we're also expanding it to make sure that it's not just for new or probationary teachers. We want to have offerings that our veteran and seasoned teachers will be able to find worthwhile, worth their time. Our teachers pulled off something that, in a traditional model may have taken years for them to learn to implement. They did it in a very short amount of time, and I think they're craving more. They're craving that rate of professional development right now, even though they're probably asking for a break right now. We know that we want to jump into next school year with all the tools that they need for any of the scenarios that we might encounter. Some of the additional areas that we'll focus on are literacy, lesson design, specifically what are possible online lesson design options, technology integration, and support for English learners and gifted education. So what's changed with Swashco Academy? So it was Probationary Academy or New Teacher Academy. We've expanded from 3 days to 4. Also in the middle, on the Tuesday and Wednesday, we are devoting those 2 days to AVID only for our General Education Academy. So what that is showing is that's our commitment to equity and really high quality equity work. I think we've seen some really great things from AVID, the AVID program over the last couple of years. And we want to make sure that it has space for everybody to engage. Sometimes there's so much happening at the academy that AVID sometimes would take a back seat. So we wanted to make space for that. Additionally, special services will be planning their own set, their own courses, and they'll be in one environment to make sure that their new and probationary teachers have everything they need to get started with the school year. And like I said before, we're making sure that the offerings will support both new and probationary teachers as well as our veteran teachers. Leading up to that, we also have some summer opportunities for professional development. Corey Thompson and the Achievement and Integration Department have done an excellent job of providing some things that are very time appropriate for what we're going through right now. So CLRT and Summer Institute just wrapped up. I've heard comments from a couple assistant principals that enjoyed their time thoroughly. Despite it being over Zoom, they said that the facilitators did an excellent job of making the Zoom professional development as engaging as it could be. And I think that's something that we'll tap into as we continue to do our virtual PDs. AVID Summer Institute is happening. We've got online CLRT, binder studies, a couple book circles that A and I have put on as well. Technology integration, they changed their summer tech camp, and we've rescheduled it from June to the first week of August. This is a paid opportunity for teachers to come in and have an environment where they're supported by tech coaches and tech integrationists to work on projects leading up to the school year. It's not necessarily an ed camp style, but it is an environment where they're free to collaborate, but there will be a few moderated sessions as well. And finally, TLS is offering 10 hours of curriculum writing to any teacher that wants it this summer. We're also facilitating a couple support sessions for elementary, middle school, and high school, respectively, a couple times in the summer as well. So as teachers are going through the process of curriculum writing, they'll have some support from TLS to make sure that any questions that they have or ideas that they want to bounce or anything they want to collaborate on, they'll have some support from central office. So I went through that very quickly, but if you have any questions, fire away.
Well, I know I have a question. It seems like these are meant to, or you're planning for these to be in person. Is that true? I mean, is there an alternative if we are ending up in virtual?
All right, so I'm going to plead the rookie card here. This is my first time prepping slides. Actually, no, this is one of the big changes that I forgot to include because I've just been in distance mode for like 3 months now, and so everything in my mind is already distance. I'm planning right now that our Sawashko Academy will be totally virtual this year. So Molly Lester and Corey Thompson have been working to create online Avid courses for our Sawashko Academy, and everything else I'm planning to have virtual. I think it's easier to plan it to be virtual, and then if there's an opportunity for us to be in person, we can shift some of those. But I think based on the amount of prep that it takes to just get a space and a building ready, meeting certain codes and the amount of people that could potentially be in one place, I thought it was better to plan the whole thing to be virtual this year. Thanks for the question. Sorry, I forgot that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thank you. That's very cool. Anyone else?
Pat Driscoll, I don't have a question, just a comment. It sounds like a lot of innovative thinking went into this and a thorough presentation for teachers' needs. I just think it's a wonderful plan. Good job.
Took all of us.
I would tell you that there's a lot of plans that James has made for training for all of our staff throughout the summer. As you know, that we're talking about the fall, new people coming in, and he's done a tremendous job thinking through what will be needed as we take the steps that we'll need to take for next fall. I'll talk a little bit about what we learned today about next fall in my report, but thanks, James. Thanks, Kelly, for all the guidance.
This is Simi. I did have one question. Yeah. You guys, crap. I just forgot it. I'll email you later, Kelly. I think I forget what it was around. I had it and then it totally slipped my mind. Oh, sorry. Wait, I just remembered it. So you said that you were, sorry. It's been a long day. You said that this is geared for both new teachers and returning teachers, correct?
Yes, and teachers that are past probationary, yes.
Okay. How are these topics that they've told you that they're particularly interested in, or like is this something that's demand generated, or is this something that you are putting out there and teachers, you're hoping that teachers come?
Great question. It's a little bit of both. So we know that based on experience, there are some things that our probationary and our new teachers need to have, some skill sets that they just need to have, things like intro to Seesaw or Schoology. Those are some of our standard, everybody should get this training. But then, yes, we did a number of surveys, both through ATPPS and through focus groups this spring to determine what were the strong suits with our PD as we went through distance learning. Where are some areas now that we've made it through and you can take a breath? What are some things that you would like more support on? And part of that is, why we shifted our tech camp to August. Originally, we were going to cancel it altogether because of the demand for, I need more time and space and support with technology integration and innovations. We rescheduled it for August. So yes, the things that are being planned are a direct response to our feedback and our surveys, as well as what we know teachers need as just a baseline for support coming into the district.
That's great. Thanks.
Thanks, Demi.
Any other questions? Thank you, James and Kelly.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, 9.0 are discussion items. We don't have any this evening. 10.0 are our action items. 10.1 is our guiding change document, and Dr. Jacobus will lead that discussion.
Thank you. If you remember last meeting, we brought a guiding change document to be used to focus our work as we prepare for the fall. So as you were discussing and we were going through the elements, then Julie was taking notes, and I'm going to thank Julie. Then she put together the comments. She also had some comments since our last board meeting from board members, and we have some highlighted changes to go through and some rewording of things, some clarification. So I want to start with the current reality and the change that was made toward the end in the current reality, and I'll read what the current statement is. says at the middle level, the grading scale was converted to a distance learning scale, which included a pass/incomplete. The elementary grading did not include the completion of the regular progress reports, and instead, progress in math and reading was shared directly with families. The last bullet then reads now, our district facilities and custodial teams have increased sanitation and conducted thorough cleanings of each of our schools and district buildings. Safety protocols have been put in place at emergency care sites. So I wonder if there's any comments on that. That should capture the feedback that we received from the last guiding change. Any questions? And what I plan to do is after we finish that, then we'll go to the unacceptable mean changes, means, and then the results. Okay, then on the unacceptable means, there was some wording and some clarification questions that were brought up. And so there's two highlighted areas here. The first one is, we will not make decisions without considering the needs, voices, and expectations of our entire community. The second one is, we will not make decisions that create or exacerbate inequalities in our Black, Indigenous, and people or communities of color. In the wording, there was some discussion about how the decisions, what might drive decisions, and who might be included or excluded as we talked about that. So this clarifies what board members had brought forward. So any questions or concerns or comments on the unacceptable means changes?
Okay, so we don't have this updated on ours.
You don't? Okay.
Not that piece.
It's up there now, and it'll be part of the board materials. And we highlighted just the changes so you can see them.
It's on the website, Tracy.
You need to refresh your
That's
page.
right. Maybe I need to update it.
Yeah, you might have to refresh it for the. Yeah. Okay. Then on the results, the first bullet then, we altered to say our strategic plan or added our strategic plan and core values of equity, collaboration, integrity, relationships, and continuous improvement will drive our decision, direction, and path moving forward. That was brought up, and that's probably one that should be included, as are the statements of not breaking the law and policies. Then on the last, or the next page on results, there's a few changes here. The first one states, we are committed to personalized learning embedded in equity and social emotional well-being. The next is, use this opportunity as a catalyst to reimagine teaching and learning as we know it by dismantling systematic racism to address opportunity gaps or opportunity gaps. The third one here is, we need to consider courses that are typically done face-to-face, classes that need to be in person, Project Lead the Way, and career and technical education. I think I stumbled the way I read that, but we need to consider there's certain courses, even if we're in a hybrid or a distance learning, that to really engage and complete the content and the rigor need to be face-to-face. So we would want to look at ways that we would be able to make sure we're working within MDH and MDE guidelines to offer these courses and successfully. Next one is, we will consider needs for transportation, food, extracurricular activities, and out-of-school time. And then the last one is, the latest information will be shared with families about the return to school in fall following guidance from the Minnesota Department of Education and Minnesota Department of Health. MDE is expected to release guidance the week of June 27th. I'll talk in my report. We do have guidance that was released, documents that we'll have on our website, and they might have had them up there already today. And I'll explain some of the things we learned about that. But on the results section, any questions, concerns, or clarifications I can make, and Julie can jump into as far as any clarifying questions. Okay. One thing I'd remind you as you approve this document, as we talked about when we presented the guiding change and Christine Roboleski was with us, this is meant to be a living document. And as you move into it, if it's going to be workable to end up with the products we need, there may be flexibility and change. I think that's really important to state because a number of times in past large-scale district projects, when we got to the end of the decisions, people in the community went back to the guiding change document and felt like we changed from what we said originally. There were some reasons for that, and that is part of this document, that this is a working document for us internally to make sure we have guidelines and we bring back decisions and recommendations to you that you will be supportive of, but it is a flexible document.
So if we are comfortable with the changes that were discussed and made, we can entertain a motion to approve our guiding change document.
Louise Hines, so moved.
Simi, second.
All right, thank you. So we will have a roll call vote, please.
Melinda Doles,
Yes.
Louise Hines,
Yes.
Simi Petnaik,
Yes.
Pat Driscoll,
No.
Sharon Van Leer,
Abstain.
Katie Schwartz is absent, Tracy Burnett.
Yes. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Let's see. So 10.2 is the approval of our 2021 preliminary budget. Our Director of Finance and Operation, Dan Pine, will present this item.
Good evening, Chair Burnett, members of the school board, Dr. Jacobus. I do have 3 items. They're not going to be real long. We just have to do some protocol type things and get some budgets approved. Tonight is a little more festive meeting than we've had in the recent past because of all the issues, and it was nice to see get the comments from people. And of course, nothing could be more festive than to approve revised and preliminary budgets. That's for sure. For Sharon, I'm sure you missed it. I can tell you a quick story. This would have had to happen last year because of COVID-19, but there was a young man. He asked his a girl out to prom, and she said yes. And he went home and he said, Mom, I just asked girl to prom and we're going. And she goes, oh, that's great. Now you're going to have to get flowers. You're going to have to get a tuxedo. And you're going to have to get a limo. So he goes to the flower store and waits in line, and gets the flowers. And then he goes to the limo store to reserve a limo, and he waits in line and gets the limo. Goes to the tuxedo store, and same thing. He had to wait in line. Got everything together. Night of the prom, they go to the prom and they get there, and he asked her if she wants some punch. She said sure. So he walks over to the table where the punch is, and I don't know what you guys were expecting, but there is no punch line.
Good job, man. Good job.
10.2 was to approve the preliminary budget that we presented last week. In the meantime, we put together the budget book that was a part of your packet. There'll be a chance to review it. Otherwise, so no major changes in the budget. We did account for some beginning fund balances as we're going to transfer some money to school nutrition and community ed, and that would be a planned transfer that you'll approve sometime before for the audit. We have until like November to get that transfer approved, and we won't do the transfer until we know exactly how much we want to transfer to make up for COVID-19 expenses. Otherwise, the budget's in your packet. It does show show a fund balance that is going down due to a deficit, but there are really no changes from last week. And with that, I just ask you to approve. It's the 2021 preliminary budget.
All right. So we will entertain a motion to approve.
Pat Driscoll, so move.
Linda Dole, second.
All right. So I know you reviewed it last week, but any final questions? All right. Hearing none, we will take a roll call vote.
Melinda Doles,
Yes.
Louise Hines,
Yes.
Simi Petniak,
Yes.
Pat Driscoll,
Yes.
Sharon Van Leer,
Yes.
Katie Schwartz is absent, Tracy Burnett.
Yes. Thank you. All right, 10.3 is the approval of a revised 1920 budget.
Hello again, and you did approve the revised budget at your May 21st meeting. As you know, we've had to figure out different financial transactions because of COVID-19 related expenses, and with that, it would have changed our total expenses in general fund and our revenues in the school nutrition and the community services fund. So the revision here is basically that we're transferring $800,000. We're budgeting to transfer this. We won't know the exact numbers, as I said. $800,000 from a restricted account that's allowed this year in the general fund, so it doesn't affect our unassigned fund balance, of which $400,000 will be transferred to the school nutrition fund, and $400,000 will be transferred to the community education fund. And those are the only changes to this budget, but we need you to approve a revised one so that it's in the record for when the audit starts.
Okay. So we'll entertain a motion to approve our 1920 revised budget.
Pat
This is
Driscoll.
so moved. I can second.
Sorry, I'm not sure if I caught first or who motioned. Melinda?
Pat.
Oh, Pat? Okay. So sorry. Okay, so Pat motion, Simi second, roll call vote.
Melinda Doles,
Yes.
Louise Hines,
Yes.
Simi Petniak,
Yes.
Pat Driscoll,
Yes.
Sharon Van Leer,
Yes.
Katie Schwartz is absent, Tracy Burnett.
Yes. All right, thank you for that. And one last one is 10.4, the approval of our revised long-term facility maintenance plan.
Good evening once again, and this one isn't really complicated, but I just still want to explain it. Every July, the board will approve a long-term facility maintenance plan, which is actually a 10-year plan. And once the board approves it, we submit it to Minnesota Department of Education, and they approve it, and we can go along with our plans. For various reasons, one was to balance out some of the funds in that fund, and because we were able to start projects earlier because we didn't have children in school, we consulted with the Minnesota Department of Education, and they said, yeah, that makes sense. Do that, make those adjustments to your plan, but take it to the board so they approve it. Again, so we're actually approving the one you approved last July so that the 1920 expenses will match up with what's approved. And if you looked in the packet at all, not the really hard one to read, that's our 10-year plan, but the facilities department did a great job of listing the projects and then breaking out the ones that we moved from next year to this year because we're able to do them. I mean, one of the only bright spots of this pandemic was that we were able to get a head start on some of our projects. So really, I'm just asking you to approve the new plan for this year, which moved the expenses from about $19 million to, now I'm in the dark here, to about $25 million. But those expenses will come off of next year's plan. And then I know you're excited about this, you get another plan to approve in July, and that will be our new 10-year plan, and specifically the 2021 budget.
All right. So we will entertain a motion to approve our revised long-term facility maintenance plan.
But hey, Tracy, before we do that, can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Dan, does this, so this doesn't change our general fund or anything like that because this is a dedicated segment of funding?
Yes, these are restricted funds.
Okay. And so all it's doing is just shifting expenses from next year to this year?
Correct.
Okay. So I guess so moved, Tracy.
Okay.
Second,
Thanks.
Melinda.
All right, so moved by Simi, second Melinda. We will have a roll call vote. Oh, I'm sorry, unless somebody else has a question?
Melinda Doles,
Yes.
Louise Hines,
Yes.
Simi Petnaik,
Yes.
Pat Driscoll,
Yeah.
Sharon Van Leer,
Yes.
Katie Schwartz is absent, Tracy Burnett.
Yes. Thank you. All right, so now on to 10.5, which is our resolution rescinding proposed placement of teachers on unrequested leave of absence. And our Director of Human Resources, Dr. Witherspoon, will present.
Hi, thanks. Good evening. So good news, we had placed 2 teachers on unrequested leave of absence, and the good news is that we need them, and so that we do not have to place them on unrequested leave of absence. So tonight I'm here seeking approval to rescind the proposed placement of teachers on unrequested leave of absence.
Awesome. All right, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
Louise, so moved.
Simi, second.
All right, anyone have questions? All right, hearing none, we will have roll call votes.
Linda Doles,
Yes.
Louise Hines,
Yes.
Simi Petnaik,
Yes.
Pat Driscoll,
Yes.
Sharon Van Leer,
Yes.
Katie Schwartz is absent, Tracy Burnett.
Yes. Thank you very much. All right, 10.6 is the approval of wages and benefits for our district office support specialist employees.
Thank you. So this was probably the fastest virtual negotiations I've ever, fastest negotiations and virtual that I've ever done. It was 2 email exchanges, a proposal and a yes. So it was great. So tonight I'm here to approve wages and benefits for district office support specialist or DOS employees. Negotiations towards a new collective bargaining agreement between South Washington County Schools and the DOS support specialist group have resulted in a tentative 2-year contract starting July 1st, 2020, going to June 30th, 2022. And the the economic costing of the tentative agreement includes an increase of wages of 2% for 2020 and 21, and a 1.8% increase for 2021 and 22. I think in your packet you can see the district contributions for health insurance. So if you look just for a couple examples, health insurance for single, the district currently pays $530. For 2020, the district will pay $570, and then there's no change for 2021. Some other things, an increase to the TSA from 4,400 to 4,800 in 2021, and then no increase for the following year. And then a tuition reimbursement increase from 1,500 to 2,000, with a cap at 4,500 for the entire bargaining unit. Dental insurance contributions increased from $30.90 for single to $42, and an increase from $30.90 to $80 for family. Administration recommends approval of the proposal.
All right, we will take the motion first and then we'll ask questions.
Go so move.
Melinda Dole, second.
Thank you. All right, any questions on this agreement?
Hey, Kevin, this is Simi. Is TSA, is that a retirement contribution?
It is. Tax shelter, yeah.
Sorry, what did you say?
Tax shelter, TSA tax shelter annuity.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So the only question I have is, if I remember right, this is a small group, right?
You're correct. Probably about 25, maybe. Yep, about 25.
So the one thing that kind of stands out to me, and I don't know, we may have it in others, but the tuition reimbursement, do we have that in other bargaining units?
We do, and almost every bargaining unit has some sort of a tuition reimbursement.
Okay, awesome, thank you. And you said 4,500 max for the entire.
Correct. So the entire group, yep. So each individual can get up to 2,000, or what did I say? 1,500 to 2,000, correct, with a total cap of 4,500 for the fiscal year.
Per individual?
For the whole group.
So that just covers two.
Okay, which one? Yeah. Are you still there?
Yep. I didn't hear you for a second. Did you ask a question?
Well, I guess we lost our, we just can't see you, but if you can see us and you can hear us, we're good.
You can see on small computers, so we're still legal
Okay.
on this.
All right, so, okay, thank you. And that's exactly what you said, but I just was, since we had 25 people, that could run out rather quickly. So, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Did anyone else have any questions? All right, so hearing none, we have our motion, so we need a roll call vote.
Melinda Doles.
Yes.
Louise Hines just sent a text. Can you hear me? She's having connection issues.
Okay.
So Louise Hines is absent for now. Simi Petnaik?
Yes.
Pat Driscoll?
Yes.
Sharon Van Leer?
Yes.
Katie Schwartz is absent. Tracy Burnett?
Yes. All right, cool, thank you.
Thank you.
11.0 reports and comments. 11.1 is our superintendent's report.
I just wanted to do a quick summary on fall planning, because that's obviously our major focus, and a lot of questions and concerns from community members and families about what does the fall look like. As mentioned, the governor and the Department of Education will make a final decision on how we'll start in the fall at the end of July, the week of July 27th, but we know we have 3 scenarios to plan for, and today there were documents released from the Department of Education and the Department of Health, very extensive guideline documents that go through teaching and learning guidelines, that go through facilities and different operational aspects of what we will need to do. And then we had a call with the Commissioner of Education and a number of people this morning to talk a little bit about the documents. We need time to read through them. They're about 60 pages. And so there was a quick summary, but one of the things that was discussed was that as the virus has continued to play out and Department of Health and epidemiologists have understood a little bit more, what they hope to do in the fall is what they termed use more of a scalpel approach to isolation and mitigation strategies, where there may be one city that has to shelter in place if they have an outbreak, but a neighboring city wouldn't have to do that. In school districts, we have the 3 scenarios that we're planning for, which would be the online type learning, everyone's away from school like we did in the spring with some improvements, or a hybrid system where we would be in school part of the time. And what they clarified is that hybrid would mean that you would have 50%, whatever the capacity is in your school, you could only have 50% of the population in the school at any one time. So that gives some clarification there. And then the other time, folks will be working online, or we would have a return face-to-face with social distancing. But they clarified today that the goal would be to have social distancing at 6 feet at least, but they realized during core instruction and other times that's not going to be possible. So there is flexibility in the thinking right now that it wouldn't be 6 feet at all times. But that's part of what's in the guidance. They also said that we need to be prepared to seamlessly and flexibly move from one plan to another. So we may open up in a hybrid, but if something changes, we may have to drop into or move into the online learning, or we might open up face-to-face and then have to change. They are really going to look and try to pinpoint as they learn more, even over the summer months. So as I mentioned before, I talked to Pepe. We will have the documents on our website if they're not up already, so parents can start to read through that. But I want to foreshadow the need for flexibility and all of the logistics that'll have to take place. But these decisions will be made by the state. And they said today, we will not be making these decisions on our own to move from one plan to the other. So I have had a number of parents write to me and for us to really consider opening up face-to-face. That really isn't our decision. And we wouldn't want that decision because it needs to be governed, and the decision has come from the Department of Health based on what's the safest plan for kids. So that's what we know. So we're getting, I think, the guidance documents, and again, I haven't had a chance to read them, but they really help to start to clarify. And then all of the process that I talked to you about that we are going through to plan for those, that'll give those planning teams a chance to utilize the guidance from the state to hone in and to help them make decisions and plans. So, and then we will bring those plans for you and update you on the work that we're doing at the July meeting. And hopefully we'll be at a point there that we will ask for some approval, if not at the first meeting in August, depending on when the governor and the Department of Ed comes forward with the final decision on how we'll open in the fall. But we have to be prepared to move back and forth into the different scenarios depending on what we see in our district.
All right. So with that, we are at 12.0, which are the future meeting dates. We have regular school board meetings on July 16 and then again on August 13th. And with that, we are adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone.